Welcome, everyone, to the SnapCast podcast with your hosts, Brad O'Brien and Mike Cooley. This is a Magic the Gathering podcast in case you're like, shit, what is this?
What is this?
This is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about magic and magic-related things. We're geared towards the casual Magic player with a competitive interest in MTG finance. We love that money.
Woo!
From this game.
Jason Clark says, woo, we already got somebody in the chat.
Woo, woo, yeah. Jason, what's up, man? Happy to have you. You know, I don't know if we should start yet. We haven't seen Tech 4, who's given us permission. He does it every week.
Well, I mean, we can just, talk about bullshit until he gets here. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Brad.
I just spent the last 4 days in Rhode Island hanging out with my 71-year-old mother and my aunt that's older than that and my godmother that's even older than both of them.
Geriatric birthday is what this sounded like.
Yeah, exactly. Drove 4 hours down there to, well, she's 4 hours, 5.5 hours to just, hear about what it's like to be old. And I saw our friend Nicole today, and she's big with the puns. She said, "Oh, this is a record birthday for you." Guess how old I turned this year?
Hold on. Record?
There's a clue there.
I'm trying to figure this out. I'm too dumb to figure out her puns all the time. I just laugh, and then she thinks I get them, and I'm like, I never understood that, but she'll never know. So record, 30.
It's not 33 and a third.
Okay. I'm stumped. I'll never get this.
45. Spinning a 45 here.
Hey.
And talking about collectible card games with my best buddy here, Michael Cooley.
That's awesome, man. I rarely log on to Facebook anymore, so I really, if I don't do that, I don't know when anybody's birthday is. And I would highly suggest it. I've given that up. Like, I used to check every day and wish people a happy birthday, but I'm like, this is like 10, 15 minutes out of my day. I got to think of something for people I don't even care about, mostly. Like, it's only few and far between. But now it's kind of bit me in the ass because I'm like, I'll remember the good people's birthdays, the people that I care about. And then Brad's like, by the way, it's my birthday, you asshole.
Oh, dude. And I say the same thing. If it weren't for Facebook and like, I know my ex's birthday from being together for so long. I learned my mother's birthday because she guilted the shit out of me after, like, I didn't know my mom's birthday when I was 30. I probably didn't know my mom's birthday when I was 35. I don't know.
Dad, I forgot my mom's birthday this year, too. I was so bad.
So, like, yeah. Basically, I know my best friend from growing up, his birthday, the guitar player that I've played with since I moved to Maine's birthday, Nicole's birthday, and my mom's birthday. Other than that, if Facebook doesn't tell me, condolences, I'm sorry.
Right. And all the birthdays that I know in my head, they're like estimates. You know what I mean? Like they're estimates. Like my mom's birthday, I'm like, it's in or around this day. So if I say it on this day and I'm a little early, she'll be like, oh, wow, he's really thinking of me. And if I'm a little late, it's no bueno. You always got to be just in or around and always underestimate. Under promise, over deliver. Story of my life.
That was my key to success back when I worked in middle management and retail and things like that. I worked for Kinko's for years, and I would do that. I'd be like, geez, it's going to take us at least 2 days to turn this around. And then the next day I'd call him up and be like, we were able to get that done for you overnight. And I was a hero.
Damn. You must have really busted your ass for me. I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of busted.
You're jumping right to it.
That was perfect.
I was just going to say, if you figure out, like this year when you find out your mom's birthday, tell it to me and I'll help you figure out how to memorize it. So here's my trick and we'll teach it to the world. You just have to have some other association with it. So like my mother's birthday is August 4th. That shouldn't be too hard to remember. The only reason why I remember it now is it's a month after the 4th of July.
Ah.
And
okay.
It's like, it's not July 4th. It's the next month. Okay. It's August 4th.
Anytime you hit the 4th, you're like, something's going on.
Oh, crap. What the hell's going on this time?
You're right one time. 1 out of 6 times, you're right.
Yeah. So I guess I lied, although I don't know if it counts. I also know my father's birthday, but he's deceased, so we don't really celebrate that anymore.
Still counts, though. You got to toast to him or something.
Yeah. But his was 2 days after mine. His birthday was on the 19th. And so I always remembered that my ex's was a month before that. So I could remember May 19th was theirs. And it was just...
Got to associate it with some other
date. It was a mnemonic device.
I like it.
Like a Johnny mnemonic device implanted in my head that helps me remember.
I like it.
And you too could do this if you were so inclined.
Yeah. I think that requires some sort of memory. I don't commit much to long term. I live in the moment.
Speaking of living in the moment, I haven't thought about Magic cards since Friday night when I played pre-release.
How did it go, by the way?
It was fun. It was the pre-release for Modern Horizons 2, which most of the time you don't actually get a pre-release event for something like a master set or a special set like that. And so it was really fun playing with basically kind of like a cube set. It was just everybody had powerful cards. I opened 2 of the ignoble hierarchs in my sealed pool.
Damn.
And so I played 4 color bullshit pile that worked a little bit.
Sweet.
And I just had a bunch of fun actually being in the shop playing cards with people.
That's cool, man. It seems like a heck of a pre-release to go to, man. A lot of cards you could crack, and I mean, a lot of shops getting the official reopening orders. You know what I mean? It's okay to open up. Were people wearing masks? Was that a caveat? I got to tell me about this. I got no time to hit the Friday night magics anymore.
It was a optional.
Optional.
So if you were vaccinated, or if
you said you were vaccinated.
Exactly. I was just going to say, whether or not somebody's vaccinated or not, we're not checking cards at the door, but the idea is if you're vaccinated, you shouldn't be as concerned about it anymore.
Right.
There were a couple of folks there that were wearing masks, and I just assume either they're at risk or they have family members that are at a higher risk, and so that they made that choice. It's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. GG. That's awesome, man. I'm just happy to see things open and back up. And, people just enjoying Magic the Gathering in person again. I think that's awesome. One thing, though, that I'm not happy about is some of the results that I saw this week. I will tell you that right now. You might have seen the name of the episode, okay? And I got something to say. I got something to say about this, and I think Brad agrees. We had a short conversation before the cast. We just said, hey, can we talk about how stupid this is? Yep, let's do it. And of course, you might know we're talking about the card Brainstorm. Have you guys seen this in Historic? So first of all, I almost went off on it when they introduced it into Historic, but I didn't want to be the negative Nancy. I feel like everybody on the internet's got something to say if you're the negative Nancy, especially if you're the negative Nancy and you're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you call it wrong.
Exactly. And I didn't know enough about Historic. But what I knew was Brainstorm seems too powerful for Historic. But I didn't want to say that. Again, I didn't want to say it because I could be wrong. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing about Historic.
Right, and I don't think either of us participate in that format enough to come out with an expert opinion in the first week when they say, hey, here's this mystical archive. We're going to release all of these cards into the format.
Exactly. And, we've talked about it before. We see what they're doing with Historic, and we absolutely love it. I absolutely love what they're doing with Historic. I see where it's going. They're making Historic, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's like the new Legacy, where they can, or the new Modern, essentially. They're turning their Modern into a turn 2 or 3 format, and they're turning Historic into a turn 4, which is what Modern used to be. You know,
and that's it. That's that's going to be the long-term plan has to be for the Eternal formats to be available on Arena.
Right.
Arena's too good of a client for them not to focus their energy on solely making that their client. And it has to be immensely more profitable for WotC than Moto.
Exactly.
And I want to shout out Black Dove Entertainment. Says finally got to catch the cast live. You guys are awesome. So
cheers to you.
Cheers.
Black Entertainment. I'm telling you, I'm so happy to see you here. Thank you for joining us. Cheers to you. Join us on the cheers for Brad's birthday. And I will say though, this
having
was
a little Basil Hayden.
That looked fancy when you started.
It was
pouring it in the
fancy.
glass.
Probably didn't need to have that much ice in it. It's a shame to put a huge ice cube in a good glass of whiskey, but when you sit here for 45 minutes to an hour under some actual lights,
you gotta keep it cold. You gotta keep it at least a little bit chilled. But
Brainstorm.
so anyways, Brainstorm.
Tell me about Brainstorm.
This was why I almost went off on it when they brought it into Historic. Because I could see it now, and you're gonna, as I tell you this, you're gonna see why I was hesitant to say it. Because if I was wrong, it's a heavy opinion to have, especially when someone could go back and be like, yeah, by the way, you're wrong, and it's not broken, and it's not in any decks. Well, I've got news for you. Go look on Magic, MTG Top 8, and check out the Historic decks, the biggest tournament that just came out. You're not gonna find a single deck that didn't have 4 Brainstorms in it. Well, and I could have called this.
You're going to find a few decks, but that's only because they're not running blue.
That's true. I'm sorry. You're not going to find a deck. It's going to be rare to even find a deck that's not running blue. I'll say that first of all. It's going to be rare to find a deck not running blue because Brainstorm's so powerful. But what beats Brainstorm? The overly aggressive decks. You have to be hyper aggressive to beat Brainstorm because Brainstorm in and of itself is hyper aggressive. Like, you can use it aggressively, you can use it defensively, you can use it in so many tricky ways that I think they forgot when they brought this into Historic, how powerful this card was. And this was what I almost said when I saw that they did this. Because I knew what the argument was going to be. And this is why it was going to be so controversial. Brainstorm is more busted than you think. And people's argument is, there's no fetch lands. There's no fetch
stole
lands.
My line.
There's no, I'm telling you, people are going to say this. I knew they would. That there's no fetch lands in Historic. And,
so it can't be that bad.
It can't be that bad because there's no fetch lands. Well, let me remind you of this little piece of Magic history, okay? Brainstorm was restricted in Vintage far before there were fetch lands in Vintage. So that should tell you, Brainstorm, you don't need fetch lands for Brainstorm to be busted.
Yeah.
And for Brainstorm to just be one of those cards where every time somebody casts it, you're like, shit.
Well, and the strange thing is, like you said, WotC knows that card has a checkered past as far as potentially being too powerful. We also know that when they were going to put those cards on Arena, they specifically chose to nerf. Well, we're not actually going to put Swords to Plowshares on Arena. We're not actually going to put Lightning Bolt on Arena. But the blue 1-mana spell,
arguably the most busted out of all 3 that you just mentioned,
they let it go.
Like, yeah, that one's cool, but 3 damage for 1 mana? No way. No way. Like, put it this way. No matter what happens, right? This is how you can tell if a card is busted.
Yeah.
When you cast Thoughtseize on your opponent, if they cast that card in response to you casting Thoughtseize,
it's a busted card.
And it feels bad. It is a busted card. Swords to Plowshares, it feels bad because you could have grabbed it, but it isn't like devastatingly bad. You're like, okay, well, I was gonna grab that anyway. Now I'll grab something else. Mm-hmm. If they cast Lightning Bolt, it was probably their best removal, but now you're like, okay, I'll grab something else. When they cast Brainstorm, when you Thoughtseize, you're like, damn it.
They just hid their best card on top of their deck. And
yep, now I have no idea. Like, you've completely negated my Thoughtseize. I don't even feel good about taking this 2 life that I'm going to pay for it now, because I know I'm going to get some shit you've left me with in your hand and literally taken 2 of the best cards in your hand that you do not want me taking and hidden them. So I don't even know what's coming at me now. And it's like, that's just one scenario where Brainstorm doesn't need a fetch land to be busted.
Yeah.
That's just one scenario, and it's a very common one. I mean, that was single-handedly when I played. I reference this story so much because it's one of my heydays of Magic. I've played against Jim Davis in person a couple of times, and
here we go with these stories.
That was literally, I hated it. I played Cabal Therapy against him. Turn 1, Cabal Therapy.
Yeah,
and his response was Brainstorm. And I literally sat there for like 2 minutes and I said, dude, I'm so sorry. But I was like, that was literally the best thing you could cast. And I was like, I watch your videos and I know how good you are. So I was like, now I have to try to next level the dude who's going to next level me. And I don't have a lot of confidence in my ability to do it. And he's like, no, take your time. We had plenty of time. It was Dredge versus Control. So I either scooped really quickly or, finished him really quickly. We had tons of time left.
I'm going to just tell the internet that Mike finished Jim Davis really quickly.
That's
a joke for the
one game
for the people that watch the video.
Never happened again. First game took him down easy. Second game, there's a card that I don't like when I'm playing Dredge, and it's the fucking 2-drop white guy that says dudes can't come into play if they weren't cast.
Containment Priest.
Yes, that's what it is. And so, anyways, this is what happened. Shit, you're not. This is Brainstorm. It totally threw me off my game. One mana spell. I suddenly don't know how to play Magic. And I was like, this card is so busted. And I was like, I began to think in that moment, this is restricted in Vintage. And I suddenly understand why. Because even when you play it in Legacy, I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? Fuck. Now what do I name? And of course, if he didn't Brainstorm, there was a 100% chance I was going to call Containment Priest. 100% chance. Because I can't beat it. But now that he Brainstormed, he has the option to next level me. And he did, by the way, kept a goddamn Containment Priest in his hand because he knew I wouldn't call it. And I was like, oh my God. I literally articulated that to him after his Brainstorm resolved. I go, now I think you just might have next leveled me. And you might have kept Containment Priest in your hand.
And he blank stared you.
Yeah, and yeah, he's just like, hey, could be right. And I was like, that seems like something that a Jim Davis would say if he didn't keep it in his hand. And I was like, damn it. Long story short, I tried to next level the next level because I figured he might have hidden it or hidden some sort of other interaction with the thought that he would Brainstorm it back out. So I said, Brainstorm. Because if you had another one, it would be devastating if you hid your cards and it would rip a blue card out for Force of Will.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just seems like a good call. Bam, he reveals his hand. He's got Force of Will, Containment Priest, friggin' some other, just ridiculousness. I was besides myself. He didn't have Brainstorm.
No, because he just spent it to basically counter your Cabal,
I don't know if it was a good call, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew how bad it felt to have it played against me. That I was like, I do not want you doing that again.
And yet, WotC decided this would be perfectly fine. And looking at one of the bigger historic tournaments that we have data for here on MTG Top 8, we've got 4 Brainstorm in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 8 decks in this top 8. The mono red deck didn't play it, the mono black deck didn't play it, and the Gruul deck didn't play it.
Yeah, there's some other tournaments too where like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's unmistakably Brainstorms in just about every deck again. And it's like...
Well, let's look at the 6-4. Jeskai turns, Jeskai turns, Jeskai turns, Jeskai turns, Arclight, Arclight, Jeskai turns.
This is the one
Jeskai
I was
control.
referring to. There's no deck right here. The event is 250 players. It was just played yesterday. I don't know. No, it was
June
4th. It's June 4th. But like 250 players, top 8 decks, all of them had 4 brainstorms right here.
This was basically the last Pro Tour.
Yeah. And these are the pros. These are the pros right here. You
Sam
got
Party, John Gerdeau, Matt Sperling, Logan Nettles, David Inglis, Matt Kasima, who I don't know, but Raphael Levy I know, Seth Manfield we know.
Yep.
Every one of them decided. And it's funny because Cooley brought this idea over today of just like, dude, we need to talk about Brainstorm and Historic. I haven't thought about Magic cards since Friday, but I will say, I think last week I heard LSV, Luis Scott Vargas, say at this point in Historic, as long as Brainstorm's legal, there's no reason to not play a Brainstorm deck. And so here we are a week later, and Cooley's like, dude, we got to talk about Brainstorm. I
had no idea that LSV said that.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. But it's just, you know me. I always take, like, the vintage legacy player standpoint on things that they do. Which is why when, like, I knew they were going to unban Jace in Modern far before they did. I was telling my buddies, I was like, dude, buy Jace. It's not broken. Oh, well, how do you know? It's too broken for Modern. No, it's not. Look at it in Vintage and Legacy. It's just like a 1, maybe 2 of. If they get it, they get it. But it relies on a lot of other shit. I was like, just look at it in the most busted formats. It's just not, it's good, but it's not
If they have access
great.
to it and they're not breaking it there,
right.
It's not broken.
Exactly. It relies on a lot of stuff on the board.
I will go down, actually. This is one of the few times where I'll do one of those, like, break my arm to pat myself on the back. I also called that, and one of our friends and occasional listeners, Zach Moeller, will confirm that before that Masters set came out with Jace, he's like, what do you think about this set that they're about to announce? I said, they're going to reprint Jace in this. He's like, no way.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't even have that much logic behind it. It was just a feeling that they needed to throw some nostalgia in and some power in.
Yeah, to be able to sell packs.
Honestly, if you start looking at all that they've done in the last few years, like that's going back to, they did Iconic Masters that was supposed to be, hey, these are super cool iconic cards from all of Magic. Then they had Masters 25, which was like, hey, it's our 25th anniversary. We're going to do a whole bunch of callbacks. Then they did Modern Horizons and brought new cards to Modern from cards that were no longer legal in Modern. Then they said, hey, we're going to do old bordered cards in Time Spiral Remastered. Like, clearly they are hitting on the nostalgia tip for people that have a feeling a certain way about old cards, old frames, old borders.
100%. I think I love the fact that they're pandering to the people that are legendary fans of this game that span years and years of their loyalty. However,
Brainstorm's got to go.
Brainstorm has got to go. Like this, I mean, Jeskai turns. Can you imagine? To put this in perspective, if you were wondering if Brainstorm is broken, ask yourself this. What happens if they bring Brainstorm to Modern? What does that format turn into? Like, maybe they will. Because they're just like, screw it. Modern, turn 2 or 3 format. All right, cool. Brainstorm is in. Can you imagine, like, having Brainstorm? You're never getting anything in against a control deck turn 1. Turn 1 or 2. You're just not landing anything.
Dude, Modern is looking awesome right now.
Modern is very, very healthy, I think.
So let's just, for giggles. All right, hold on. I'm going to switch back. Our controller's not working. Brainstorm should be busted. If it's at the point where it's like LSV is saying, if you can play Brainstorm, it's kind of foolish to not play a deck that can play Brainstorm. I agree with you. I don't think that they're going to do anything about it because, for the same reason that they're not doing anything about Brainstorm and Legacy, if Arena is going to have a real Eternal format vibe, they're going to have to start to include some of those staples that are the identity of older formats.
Which is true. And I thought about this too. And I, of course, have a response.
Okay.
It's too early for Brainstorm. Let Lightning Bolt in there.
Parents are never ready for their children. Let Lightning Bolt in?
Let Lightning Bolt in. Let Swords to Plowshares in. You could accomplish the same thing, and it's not nearly as busted. You're in these off colors that, like, yeah, they can be in control, they can be in aggro, they can be in sideboards, and they suggest an older format. It's too early for Brainstorm. It's always too early for Brainstorm, if you ask me. Like, you're going to need to have this format pushing borderline turn 3 bustedness to introduce Brainstorm into the format. And, like, even then, you've got to do it in a cautious way and make sure that by doing it, you're not enabling combo decks like Storm to go off even quicker. And that's what I mean. Like, if you truly want this to be an eternal format, just think of the oldest but newest eternal format that we or the newer oldest eternal format that we have in Modern, and think about how Brainstorm would affect that format. It would completely bust it. Like, Storm would still be insane. Like, it would be even more insane. Control decks, even more insane. But one could make the argument that would be the format to bring it into, because for every busted Storm deck, you have a Force of Negation deck that can compete with it.
Yep.
You know, but
or a Humans deck.
Or a Humans deck that can just
back those combos.
That
baby.
can just call Brainstorm when it comes out. Like, it would make more sense to introduce it there, but even now with Modern, it might be a little early for Brainstorm, and that seems so weird to say, but like, Brainstorm just has this unpredictable effect on a format. It really does, and it boils down to what I was saying before about, like, how does it feel when someone casts Brainstorm against you? It feels worse than Force of Will. It feels worse than Lightning Bolt. It feels worse than Swords to Plowshares or any of these other one-drop. It feels worse than Aether Vial.
I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea.
It feels bad.
Brainstorm's never been legal in a format that I play regularly.
Even if you're not interacting, right? Like, if you play in Legacy, if you play, in any Eternal format, and someone brainstorms and fetches, not to bring the fetch lands back into it.
No, but it's reasonable.
But it's such a bad feeling.
All of those decks that we talked about were playing for Fabled Passage.
Oh, yeah, and you have Fabled Passage. What the fuck, man? Like, how is that even an argument with people? Like, oh, we don't have fetch lands. You got Fabled Passage. Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
For that occasional, I need to clear my hand. But I do kind of want to talk about some Modern lists, because Modern is so good. I understand, and I apologize to folks at home if they're sick of hearing about Modern Horizons 2, but basically Modern Horizons 2 is Modern now.
Yeah.
Like, that's the format. That's the world we're living in. The cards don't even come out technically until tomorrow. And people have already asked me, like, should I pick these cards up? I don't see prices really going down. And I'm like, somebody else, Jason actually was talking about, I got a collector booster. Do I flip it? Do I hold it? Do I crack it? What do I do?
Tough call.
And it is a tough call, because basically every card in this set is playable. And if I bring up the Modern event from June 15th, just a couple of days ago, we have just want to run down the deck list. Death Shadow, Counter Ragavan, whatever that is, we'll get to it.
Yep.
4-color control, mono red Arclight Phoenix, Rakdos aggro, 5-color Niv Mizzet Reborn, another 4-color control, and Living End.
There's only 2 repeat decks in this top 8, and both of them died of Blood Moon. Like, it's...
maybe.
Maybe. I mean, most decks plan around it, the high-level players, but at the same time, they struggle with it. It's like, this is a healthy format.
Dude, so looking at the first place list, the Death Shadows list, we have 2 Dothi Voidwalker, the Leyline of the Void on a 3/2 shadow body.
Oof.
4 Dragon Rage Channeler, the uncommon that we talked about that basically is a better Delver.
Yep.
It's Delirium Delver. 4 Ragavan Nimble Pilfer.
You talked about this guy. You called it. Look at this. $61 Mythic.
And
wow.
In Death Shadow. So that, this is paired up with 4 Death Shadow, 4 Scourge of the Skyclaves, a Kroxa, Dismember, 4 Fatal Push, some Inquisitions, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 TBRs, 4 Battle Lightning Bolts. So a little bit of discard, a little bit of disruption and removal, and a bunch of fatties that you don't want swinging at you. But it blows my mind that there's 4, 8, 10 copies of cards that just came out. One of the things that I see here on the sideboard, and I want to point this out, this is not a spec, but a snap this up. Engineered Explosives.
What's this thing at right now for a price? Oh, you're kidding me.
It's climbing back up.
I almost just puked. That's so low.
Well, and they were like $2 not that long ago.
Wow.
So,
mind you, and months ago, maybe a year ago, this was a $70 card.
Yeah, it got like 2 or 3 reprints right in a row. There are so many 0 mana permanents.
Wow.
Coming out, lots of token decks. One of the things about the Urza Saga decks in the control decks, they're just making the tokens. And so EE is a great out for a lot of these decks that are making tokens. But this is Death Shadow.
Wow.
And it's running 10 new cards, like one of Modern's most established archetypes from the last, 5 years?
Yeah.
Easily.
And it's got 10 new cards.
And it's got 10 new cards.
That's so insane.
Next deck, I've never heard of Counter Ragavan. What is this?
So Ragavan is that's the 1-drop guy.
That's the 1-drop, Mike.
$62 Mythic. Wow. So it's just a tempo deck.
It's a tempo deck with 4 of the Dragon Rage Channeler that we talked about. The Delirium Delver, 4 Nimble Pilfer, 3 Snapcaster Mage, and a whole pile of counter spells.
Wow.
Bounce spells, Force and Negation, Lightning Bolts.
Wow.
Unholy Heat. That's an interesting one.
Unholy Heat. It's a common from the new set.
Dude.
Deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Delirium, it deals 6 damage if you got Delirium. For 1 mana instant.
Yeah.
Unholy Heat. That is some unholy shit right there.
Right, and there's 2 more on the sideboard.
Wow.
Oh, look, with 2 EE. They know what's up.
Wow.
And so in this list, played by Alan Alana, is that I'm not gonna say
Alan,
it's
Alan A.
Alan Alana, or is it Al Anal Ana?
What fucking people on the internet and their weird names.
You're playing a red low to the ground creature-ish deck. What is the one thing you don't want?
Well, you don't want some removal.
You don't want removal, but you also don't want the person across from you to play like Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Like a 2/4 blocker.
Oh, yeah, yep.
That you can't bolt.
Oh, my God. Unholy
Heat takes care of prime time. Like,
that's so nuts.
A 1 mana instant common. Which, if your game plan is to turn on your Delirium Delver, your Dragon Rage Channeler, your Unholy Heat's dealing 6 damage to a blocker at instant speed.
Wow.
What a cool list that this is in Modern.
Yeah.
And the sideboard, like a couple of Aether Gusts, take care of some of those tricky permanents.
Wow.
Cleansing Wildfire for Tron.
I'm curious, what is Mishra's Bauble at right now? If you click on that, we're just checking out the price. Oh, wow.
Another one that was,
$4. I think it went down to $4. Now it's at 14.
An uncommon in Double Masters.
Wow.
Before we started casting, we looked at Karn Liberated from Double Masters. The set's been out for about 10 months. Karn Liberated went from 30 down to about 15, and it's up to 36.
Wow.
So that set has totally rebounded. And now that people are again, and we called this maybe 2 months ago. Once people are going to be at tables playing Modern again, these staples were going to jump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is, to answer Clark's question, it's it's tough to call what to do with these packs. It's going to depend on how available they are, I think. Like, how much do they print these?
And that's it. This is not Time Spiral Remastered.
Right.
This is, in theory, print to demand as much as you want for as long as, for the year.
Yeah.
When people stop buying it and shops stop asking distributors will stop asking WotC, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
But I would think for this set is going to be so sought after for so long. Again, I'm not moving in on any of these cards. That one Esper Sentinel's like a $35 card.
God damn. Yeah, and at some point it's just more financially beneficial to buy a booster pack for MSRP and take a random chance at getting these, And if they're going to print them to demand, I would think. I mean, I always err on the side with new sets of just wait.
Just wait. The cards will get cheaper.
Like, yeah, it's especially. I rarely spec on them before they drop. They have to be blatantly obvious, like busted and underpriced.
Conversely, I think if you have a collector booster of this set, that collector booster is probably not going to go up in price for years. And so I might crack that this week and sell the cards that you're not using.
Seems like an idea.
This weekend. Because, yes, you might be able to get them in 2 weeks. Now, I know that sounds counter to what I said last week. Last week I said, if you go to pre-release and crack an Urza's Saga, you might as well hold on to it. Guess what? I went to the pre-release and I cracked an Urza's Saga, and I came home and I put it in one of my EDH decks.
Yep.
But
now, what is Urza's Saga worth?
Depends on who you ask.
Picked up a mill card because it's dirt cheap, but everything else I'll wait on. What's the mill card you picked up? You've piqued my interest. I've started putting together a new version of mill as well, as it's one of my favorite pet decks.
Urza's Saga from Modern Horizons 2.
$37.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the foils are close to 100 right now.
Wow.
And it's a rare. It's not even a mythic.
God,
that has to come down. It would probably be smarter financially for me to sell that right now and buy it again for 20 in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
I cracked it. I didn't pay 40 for it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of true. Like,
let's just look at the prices in this set because they are.
It just depends on how much you want to grind. You know what I mean? There is, unfortunately, it's not like
they don't have official prices yet because it hasn't
dropped yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Magic is like one of those games where I think there's a lot of hype money to be made if you're willing to grind your trades and your sales.
Yeah.
But if you're the casual Magic player and you're just like, you know what, now I don't have to fight for this. I cracked one and I wanted one for an EDH deck. You're not the type of player that's gonna make a killing off of it anyway. You know what I mean? If you're not out like grinding it during these times, because that's where I think your money is made in these new set releases. You got to be grinding them.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I say if you have a collector's booster and you open an alt art foil full whatever Esper Sentinel and you're going to get $150 for it this week.
Yeah.
Get your $150 and then buy the $25 copy.
Right.
Next week.
So he says Fractured Sanity was the mill card. It's 3 blue. That's the one we were talking about. How it's so good. Yeah, I know that.
Cycle it or mill for 14.
Yep. What is that at right now? Christ, he might have inspired me to get some too, because that's making the first fucking top 8 mill list that comes out. It's gonna be in there. $10.
Well, that's for this weird art version.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if I can find the regular one.
Fractured Sanity.
I wasn't trying to get the showcase.
Oh yeah, $1.83 deal. Yeah, you might have sold me on that, Jason. I might pick up a playset for $1.83 each. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see again, like, okay, the first data on here is from June 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. Today's the 17th, and they show it like the foil dropping off today. I can't even. You can't even make that timeline smaller than a week.
I mean, I think we were drawing some attention to that too when it first came out, and it was like $4 or $5, and I said, wait.
Yeah.
Like, just wait.
Again.
There's too much hype in the set for people to get hyped about a mill card. Like,
exactly.
And it's so good. Like, that is... I mean, we broke it down with the math and everything too, that like you need why that card is broken. And it definitely, almost definitely replaces Mind Funeral in every single mill deck. That card replaces it, by the very least. If not, becomes a staple of the mill deck. Card is good. Card is real good. Yeah, there's just so much stuff, man. And I think that's the problem, too. Whereas, there's just so many cards, they can't all be worth money. And it seems like they are right now.
They seem like they are right now, and they just can't be.
Right.
Like, if you go to MTG Goldfish, using the wrong controller, and go to Modern Horizons 2 prices. Hold on. They have sort of an idea of somewhere on here. Maybe we want to look at tools. No.
There's 303 cards in
cards
the set.
by set. Standard, Pioneer, Modern Horizons 2. Okay, so that just took us to the same page.
Mm-hmm.
They were just saying on their podcast the other day that you're supposed to be able to see the whole set EV, which I think is this, but you should be able to get box EV, which I don't see.
Can you break it down to pack EV? I feel like that would be very granular, but also very useful.
Well, and what they were saying was the boxes were packs. Any way you looked at this set, they were way over EV.
Yeah.
And so, the EV is way over
right
cost.
What you pay for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was like, this set is stupid not to crack right now, but it can only stay like that for so long. And you can already sort of see this graph here is showing the slow descent of the main set. So, but as far as, let's not look at the MTG, although it may be useful to look at the MTGO price because that's the only place you can really buy them right now. Ragavan is the most expensive card on MTGO right now, followed by Urza's Saga, followed by the green Evoke creature that we really didn't even talk about that much.
Wow.
Green, white, then Grief.
Interesting.
Interesting. And I think they're all going to see play. I think the red one's going to see play. I think actually I'm not surprised right now to see the green one so high. It's a 3/4 reach with flash.
For 3 mana.
For 3.
Yep.
Like, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
And when it enters the battlefield, you can have them put all their graveyard on the bottom of the library.
Yeah, there used to be a dude that was a rare for 3 mana that had this exact same ability of putting your opponent's graveyard in the bottom of their library. And people used him. I remember Jeff Hoogland using him in a couple of decks, and then they reprinted him as an uncommon. And now we see why, because the power creep is just insane. Now you have a reach flasher that you can force of will into play, basically. Yeah. It does the same thing. It's so good, dude. It's a good
Let's
card.
go back to this modern list, the 4-color control.
Yep.
This is a
Wilderness Reclamation, too.
Yeah, so they can do everything at their end step.
That's another card that's just demoralizing to play against.
I can tap out all the time, and so I can play Teferi on my turn and have all my mana next turn. I don't even have to.
God damn.
Force of Negation, Expansion Explosion, Cryptic Command.
4 counter spells. Wow.
4 counter spells.
This is in 4-color.
Look,
control.
The green Evoke Elemental.
Endurance. Wow. I feel like I mean, at best, that's probably a one of in a lot of these decks.
Yep.
And if not a sideboard card, I think 18 is probably overpriced for this. It is a mythic, but yeah, overpriced, dude.
Well, everything in this, and that's, I think, what we're saying is everything from Modern Horizons 2 right now, as far as a single, is overpriced.
OP.
Honestly, the sealed product, maybe not.
Yeah.
Conversely, I do like seeing triomes in the mana base here. We got a couple of triomes. If you don't have your triomes, get them.
So I think that's actually an interesting point. You kind of breezed over it, but I want to drive it home. And that is, right now, it seems like, in a lot of senses of the word, the best thing to do with your Modern Horizons 2 booster packs is crack them.
Yep.
It seems like that's the answer. Because even if, like, and I'd hate to have that one person that, like, hears this and they crack it and they get, like, a fucking $2
potato
rare.
box.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but the odds are that you will come out on top by cracking the booster pack in the current state of prices on June 17th, 2021 here. Currently, the answer is always crack the packs. Like, it's just
Crack the pack.
crack the pack. Just the value's just too high on so many of these cards.
We have inspired Jason to crack it.
He says, I'll be doing that tomorrow then. No need to twist my arm.
You know, if you crack something really cool and you want to get out of it while the prices are high, I'm stupid. Did I say that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that is like, I mean, I said in so many senses of the word,
Yeah.
like whether you're looking to pitch them or whether you're looking to pick the cards up, crack the pack.
Yeah.
You know what I
Crack the
mean?
pack.
Like, it's just, you don't trade for it. Don't friggin', you know, it's like they're so overpriced at this point. And the prices, in my opinion, will likely go down over the
There's
next few months.
Literally no way that they don't go down.
Yeah, there's
I will
no way to
stake-
predict the future, but there's no friggin' way these can stay at what they are.
Yeah, like so Dragon's Rage Channeler.
It's
is
an uncommon
for this set that's, you know, they're saying TCG play our average is 556.
Wow, so it's a $6 uncommon before the friggin' set is released.
Right. So
Come on.
if this card isn't $3 at some point in the next 3 months, I'll eat a hat. Like, I won't eat this microphone because my teeth are bad enough as it is. But like, I'll eat cardboard if this doesn't end up below $3. Like,
Deal. We're gonna hold you to that.
feel free. This is the mono red Arclight Phoenix using the new Faithless Salvaging.
Ooh, you banned Faithless Looting, but they got a piece of candy here.
So
in
we'll
Faithless
just have it with
Salvaging.
Rebound. We'll do it one card at a time. It has our Delirium Delver, Swift Spear, Soulscar Mage, and Arclight Phoenix for creatures. Running Tar Fire to try and get up to that Delirium.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's really good for Delirium.
You know, obviously, if you're in a Delirium deck, Mishra's Bauble's your number one. You know, so it's crack
Really
crack
good
a fetch land, Mishra's Bauble, light up the stage. You're on it basically.
Wouldn't be surprised if Tarmogoyf's tanked in price though, and that is sort of ironic with all of the new card types that people are trying to run in the graveyard because Dragon's Rage Channeler just outclasses the damn thing.
Well, it just flies over.
It flies over, but let's assume it could even, you know, like it's just too powerful too early. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, you got to chomp on the ground, like you got a big dude on the ground, but at the same time, this guy is just consistent, and they're
I
gonna
just realized
overrun you.
Our YouTube friends, we're not looking at the same deck list that we were. This is Hotter Hose list from that June 15th event. Giganta in the sideboards, Free Blood Moon. Maybe they were looking after that Niv Mizzet Reborn. Kozilek's Return. Mwah. Just,
Man,
you know what? Even as a human player, I can totally respect anybody that runs that because that says that they are looking out for my Auriok champions.
well, they're looking out for the Auriok champions, but I used to hate this thing when I ran Classic Affinity because it looked out for your etched champions.
Yep.
And, you know, I still remember the first time. What's that card at? It's a mythic, too, by the way. Kozilek's Return. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, it doesn't surprise me. I bought all of my copies of this card at $1.50.
I finally got there.
Because the first time I ever had it played against me, against my etched champion, I was like, shit. I had no idea that was a good card. And I was like, give me a playset.
This deck is also running the Unholy Heat in the side, as well as Shattering Spree for all of these new scales. And
surprised that card's back up at $4. Shattering Spree.
Yeah, it's
God.
reprinted into the ground.
Yep.
Real quickly, there's a Rakdos aggro deck running 4 Dragon's Rage Channeler, 4 of the Leyline of the Void creature, 2 Ragavans. They are running 2 main deck Unearths.
Interesting.
Absolutely
for Croxa.
beautiful.
Yep.
For Croxa, for after they kill your first Dreadhorde Arcanist, for after they kill your first Dragon Rage Channeler.
Or how about you Dreadhorde Arcanist, and then turn 3 you Croxa, unearth it, swing, unearth it again. Oh my god.
So this looks like fun.
Turn 3 format, dude.
4 of Kataki War's Wage in the side of this Rakdos aggro deck. Excuse me?
Wow.
This is not Rakdos. Okay, this is actually Mardu. I see 2 Guardless Shrine and a Sacred Foundry. So there is some white in here.
Dude, I still remember when I was playing Hardened Scales and I had a board full of artifacts and Picard was playing against me and I was tapped out and he like hesitated for a minute and then he was like, I'm so sorry. And he played Kataki War's Wage. And I was like, shit. That card is so good. This card is so good, man.
Classic.
It was such a classy way to destroy somebody on turn 2. I was like, dump out all of these Mox Opal, Artifact Land. He's just like, I'm so sorry. Kataki War's Wage trashed.
Niv Mizzet Reborn rocking that new General Ferris Valkyric that makes 4/4s whenever you cast basically anything in the deck. I actually was thinking about this guy today in just a control shell. Like, this is just my win con. And I'm going to play Abrupt Decays and Lightning Helixes and make 4/4s.
Goddamn. Stupid.
And obviously, this is that's basically what's going on here. Dreadbore, Kaya's Guile, Lightning Helix, Supreme Verdict, Unmoored Ego, Vanishing Verse, Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay. I actually think we talked about a list very similar to this last week.
Mm-hmm.
It's just removal.deck, Niv Mizzet to refill your hand, and this guy to crank out 4/4s.
Wow. Insane.
Another 4-color control. Just counter spells. Only 2 here. Only creatures in this one are 4 Snapcaster Mage. I feel like in the other one, yeah, they had the Endurance and the Icefang Coatl. So this is...
What is Snapcaster at right now? Is this a good buy, I wonder? It's at... Nope. Terrible buy. Wow.
I'm glad I got mine at 42 a couple.
This goes back. Do you remember that conversation we had? Like, I love celebrating the crazy ideas that we talk about sometimes, because especially when they come full circle like this. Do you remember when they reprinted Snapcaster? And I was like, dude, let me tell you a story about
trading bobs for Snapcasters.
Trading bobs for Snapcasters and vice versa. I remember the days I had 1 Snapcaster and 1 bob. And now I think I have over a playset of each because they just keep bouncing. There was a time in history where they kept bouncing back and forth due to reprints. And like Snapcaster came out, I had 1 bob. And I was like, I will trade my 1 bob for 3 Snapcasters. And I was like, okay, deal. I fully expected that Snapcaster would go up in price and Bob would get reprinted and go down. And we've come full circle. Like, at the time I mentioned this, I think Snapcaster was, again, less than Bob. And here it is. Like, now it's an $80 card again. Like, just play this pattern. It's like free money. It's kind of ridiculous, man.
Check this out. This is interesting. They're running one of Brainstone. Like, how good is Brainstorm? If we can play the worst version imaginable in Modern, we will.
Wow.
This is 3 mana to Brainstorm.
Yep. I mean, to bring the conversation full circle, Brainstorm is busted. What is this? Like, I got nothing to put in my deck here. Throw a Brainstone in there.
Single Mox Amber, which I don't understand what that's doing in this deck.
Mox Amber?
Like, Renin 6 is the only thing that turns it on.
How does okay? Bring up Mox Amber again. It's legendary creature or planeswalker. So you have literally Wrenn and 6. What's this Underworld cookbook thing? What is it?
So that is actually, this is another one that we're going to see over and over.
Oh yeah.
Asmoron tutors this.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't understand. Maybe that's a what do you call it? Like a fuck up. Like they fucked up.
I mean, maybe it's
I've seen
just
them do
something.
that.
So here's the thing, like people are talking about Urza's Saga, and this is basically a control deck, and it's running 4 brown lands, Urza's Sagas in the main deck, in the mana base. When this pops off on turn 3 or whatever, and you have to tutor something up, you're down a land.
That's true. That's a good point.
If you actually play this on 1, and on turn 2 you play a green source, maybe you make the Karnstruct. On turn 3, maybe this blows up. You go get Mox Amber, play a red source, play your Wrenn and 6, play your Mox Amber, and hold up Bolt.
They have a Luris in the sideboard, so they always have Luris too.
Yeah.
So
that would turn it on for black and white.
Yeah, that would turn it on for black and white.
But this is a counterspell, Cryptic Command, Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, it's still something.
It is.
I mean, you can
something else
cast your
that turns it.
paths. You can cast your. It helps you with Supreme Verdict, Wear and Tear. Like,
it's just.
Oh my God! You can kill a fucking Urza's Saga with Wear for 1 mana. Oh my God, that's devastating, and it is in the main deck. Holy shit! Get your Wear and Tears for under $1. They kill a land for 1 mana. Oh my God.
It kills their Urza's Saga. It would be really good if you could get it with the trigger on the stack.
Oh my God.
Like,
it's good early and late against Urza's Saga. You can kill the artifact they bring out, or you can kill the land right turn 1. God, that's ridiculous.
And keep in mind with Urza's Saga, the first chapter is a triggered ability that says Urza's Saga gains tap, add colorless.
Oh.
So if they play Urza's Saga, trigger chapter 1, kill it in response.
Wow.
They can't even tap it for mana in response.
Wow. Yep. Nuts.
Modern is absolutely awesome right now, and I'm
It is
super
insane.
excited.
I
to
can't
play it.
wait to see what decks emerge, man. From everything from Grief, I can't wait to see how that plays out, to this new Urza's Saga and how it changes the format. Modern.
How are
healthy.
we not talking about that black-white ephemerate deck that Magic Aids had posted a couple of weeks ago?
Well, we talked about it last week.
But what I mean is we're not seeing it. Like, we didn't talk about any list here with
did you see his follow-up video about it?
No.
He goes, this apparently is not broken enough for Modern right now. It was amazing. I was happy that he put a video out there, but he's like, this is just apparently not broken enough for Modern. He's like, I'm still lost to these decks right here with this new version of it, and it's just not fast enough and not broken enough. I'm like, welcome to Modern, the healthiest eternal busted format, to throw a whole bunch of adjectives.
And I am here for it. Thank you, everybody that hung out with us tonight live. For those of you that are listening to your favorite podcast, the SnapCast podcast, we do stream weekly on Thursday evenings, East Coast time. And so feel free to join us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on YouTube and you do like to occasionally listen to your podcasts on your streaming devices, you can find us just about anywhere podcasts are available. Thank you, Mike, for joining me again for another awesome conversation about Magic, brother.
Looking forward to it every week, man. And thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
You guys
You
have
make
a great
it
week.
the most fun. Hey, I don't know what we say anymore.
Peace out, mofos! Catch you next time!
Spread the podcast, not the podcast.